Hey everyone, welcome to episode 128 of the Crowdfunding Uncut podcast. We are in the middle of our top 10 favorite episode countdown that we are dropping right up until May 15th when we are launching a brand new podcast and a new brand. So to keep in the know with that, as well as grab new resources for your crowdfunding campaign or even product launch, you should head over to Khierstyn.com, which is Khierstyn.com. Apart from that, this is one of my personal favorite episodes because I know the question I get asked a lot is whether you need a Kickstarter video, which is obviously yes. And I have one of the masters on the show, Daryl Eves. So he was the brains behind Squatty Potty, which is a absolutely viral marketing video, not Kickstarter, but all of the top Kickstarter campaigns follow a very specific formula. And Daryl Eves, being the master of scripting and putting great product videos together that get millions of views, and not only that, but millions of dollars of sales from his videos, we're going through the step-by-step method of how to craft your Kickstarter video script. So this is one where you absolutely want to take notes. And I had to bring it back, of course. So apart from that, let's dive straight into this episode with Daryl Eves, where we are going to cover how Daryl Eves uses the power pitch formula to create captivating videos that educate, entertain, inspire, and sell millions of dollars worth of product. Welcome to Crowdfunding Uncut. This is the place where incredible project creators show you how they launch their products online using the world's largest crowdfunding engines such as Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Hey, thanks for checking in. This is Khierstyn, and this is episode 40. Today, I wanted to take a look at one of my favorite projects. It's actually not crowdfunding, and the reason why I've brought this guy onto the show is because he is a video marketing strategist. So Daryl Eves is responsible for 1.8 billion billion YouTube views. And what he does is he works with brands to help them create awesome videos that convert to sales. So he's helped brands create their identity and also translate into millions of dollars worth of sales. And how is this relevant to crowdfunding? Well, crowdfunding, the person who comes to your page is making most of their purchasing decision based on your video. And if you cannot create a video that converts and convinces your prospect that this is something that they want or they want to support, then your campaign is dead in the water. And we just can't have that. So today, Daryl's going to come onto the show to help us look into how to create a video that converts and translates into sales so that you can have a successful crowdfunding raise. Hey, Daryl, I'm really excited to have you on the show today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So looking over some of your stuff, I think you're, in my eyes, most famous for Squatty Potty, but I think that you're the best person to explain what you do. So why don't you just go into what a video marketing strategist is and how you got into the field?
Well, I don't know if I'm actually a video marketing strategist, but that's the title that's probably closest to me, I guess. But what I actually do for a living, been doing it for a very long time, is I like to find ways to generate traffic and convert that traffic into money. And the best way that I've found to do that, regardless of what the project is for video. So that's why the title's video marketing strategist, I guess.
Well, you do have to call yourself something.
Yeah, just not late for dinner.
What do you do? Yeah. So how long have you been working with video?
Well, from the beginning, I basically was going through college and looking for different opportunities. I got my degree in public relations and advertising. And so we did a lot of video work then. And, I played around with video long before that as well. And, for me, it was about, getting my dream job, which was just work as a hospital administrator. I know that seems pretty funny, but that's what I wanted to do. And I got an internship and turned into a full-time position and ended up realizing that I didn't really like working for someone that didn't appreciate my work. Because what I did was in 6 months, I was able to save them $680,000. And I just asked for a $10,000 a year raise, and they're like, "Oh no, you'll be making more than your supervisor." And I'm like, "Oh." So I knew right then and there I needed to get out, and so I looked for other opportunities, and I told my wife, and we just had a brand new baby, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know, we need the security," and I'm like, "I just can't do this. I need motivation, and if somebody doesn't appreciate me, it's going to be very hard to do that." And she says, "Well, whatever you do, just don't go into business for yourself." I'm like, "Okay." And 3 months later, we went into business for ourselves. But it was fun, and we learned a lot. That was back in 1999. And what I started doing with the business was traffic generation. I wanted to get people to get traffic to their websites, and I'd design their websites and program and do a lot of internet marketing. And I was looking for every solution possible that would get people to convert, to get people to take action, because I felt like the more action that I had, the more money I'd make, because I got a percentage. Those are the types of deals that we were working. We'd get a percentage of everything that was happening, plus we had a base. And in 2005, I was on Craigslist, of all places, and I was looking for some office furniture, and I saw this ad that says, "Hey, you could win a big old iPod." Well, they call it an iPod, but it was like that big brick iPod in 2005.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And I went to this site. It was called YouTube, and I'm like, "Oh, this is really cool." And I was like checking it out, and it says, if you invite 100 of your friends, you can get that iPod. So I literally spammed all my friends and got an iPod. And I just loved it. And in 2006, I started to see that a lot of those videos were ranking very easily. I didn't do anything, but they'd show up on Google. And in late 2006 is when Google actually bought them, and they pretty much integrated it with their algorithm. And those videos are super duper easy to rank. And so back in 2006, I ranked 828 videos on page one of Google for local businesses, and because they were just converting so high. It was just easy to rank, and it was easy to generate that traffic. And believe it or not, that 80% of them are still on page one. Since it's almost literally been 10 years. And the great thing about it is there's a lot of opportunity with that. And so I looked at that opportunity, and I kind of jumped full all in that. And I think where it really started to make sense and really see the power of what video can actually do was two parts. The first one was one of my clients, who was a pest control company, was spraying for doing his job. And it was in a piano store, and the owner of the piano store says, "Hey, do you know anybody that knows YouTube and marketing and websites? We really need some help." And before you know it, I was introduced to him, because he says, "You got to check him out. He's made me so much money, just got me a lot of appointments." And so I met down with them, and I saw that they had something unique. They were trying to sell pianos by putting the pianos out in the world and playing the pianos just in beautiful scenes. And so we just started there, and they had some pretty aggressive goals, and we just put a marketing plan together and helped them. And they're super duper talented, and they ended up getting about 2.1 million subscribers in 18 months and over 300 million video views, and literally changed their career. They shut down the piano store and just became full-time musicians. And if you haven't heard of the Piano Guys, you can definitely check them out. They're all over the world. So
I'll put a link to that.
I'll tell you what, that's kind of how I got started, and I saw the power that video can actually do. And with that project and other projects, I was able to see, what, if you really want to get your message across, the best way to do that outside of in person is definitely through video. And what the crazy thing is there's an element that you can learn from that would really help you engage the viewer and take them through the process, so that they're able to really make a good decision or do what you want. Because every video that we make, there's some type of CTA, there's some type of call to action. Mm-hmm. It could be as small as subscribe, or as complex as buy something very expensive. It just really depends on the video. But that's basically how I got into it, and I haven't really looked back from there. I was hand selected by YouTube in the early stages over 3 years ago to be a part of their certification program, and went in. I went back to YouTube itself and went through their little testing and training and that they had, and it was a pretty tough test. It's probably one of the tougher tests I've taken at that time. And there was like 30 some odd people in the class, and there's only 3 of us that actually passed the test. And so there's
wow.
like, it's a pretty thing. And it became really interesting because I've had unique opportunities to work with some great brands like Red Bull, Adobe, NBC, ESPN, and then also some of the biggest YouTube channels in the world. And it's been great. It's been super fun, and I learned a ton. And ultimately, when I'm called in, it's generally hey, we need some traffic generated, an audience developed, and then convert that traffic into money. And it's just basically all the same. It really is. It's just you got to have a good understanding of what video can actually do and what resonates with the bulk of the people. And it just kind of goes from there. And then just as of last week, I celebrated 1.8 billion video views that we've helped generate.
Amazing. So, congratulations. I was going to ask you about what your total viewage was, but beat me to it.
Yep. Well, there we go. So that's basically how I got into it.
Okay. And one thing I want to know is I came across your work mainly through Squatty Potty, which is one of my favorite commercials. It's a very unique, creative video that it doesn't make fun of the potty thing, but it's just really tastefully done. I'm going to put a link to that. But as an example, I'd love to understand a bit more of the work you do when a brand like Squatty Potty brings you on.
Okay, so that one I was hired by the Harmon brothers to help out. So what that means is I was the executive producer, project lead, and Jeffrey Harmon had an idea to sell the Squatty Potty, and it was a brilliant idea. It wasn't fleshed out, and no pun intended on that one. It was a very rough idea, but we were pulled in. Myself was pulled in along with his brother Daniel, and we really kind of fleshed it out completely. Where it's getting the right people to make sure the right elements were in play. And we knew that, one of the most difficult things, it's just gross, but it's a difficult thing to sell something that's colon related or anything that's bathroom related, and keep it so that it can build a brand and a product. And honestly, it's like there's not a lot of people that would just jump at that opportunity. I know when that first happened, the owners of the company, who was just on Shark Tank, the year prior, and they did get picked up. And Lori Grenier, they basically said, absolutely not. This would hurt your brand. This wouldn't do it. But the CEO just said, you know what? There's something about this, and there's some banter back and forth on if it's going to work or not. And they're looking at other places, and so he finally pulled the trigger. But he didn't tell Lori Grenier. He goes, we're going to do this, but we're not letting her know about it. And it's not like a very expensive thing or a cheap thing to do. It's a very expensive thing to do. And we went through the process of putting that ad together and really going through the process. And we met together. We got the writing down. We had an amazing writer on it that could see the vision of what the creative looked like. And we've worked together on several projects before, so it was really easy to kind of anticipate the things that need to be done. And then we followed a formula, which I'll get back to the formula here in a second or two. Okay. About 2 weeks before the video was going to be released, we were actually in Poland. Jeffrey and I, both of us are the executive producers on it, and we get this message from Bobby, who's the CEO of the Squatty Potty, and he's like, "By the way, I told Lori Grenier, that this video's coming out in a couple weeks."
How'd it
And
go?
she wasn't too happy. She wasn't. She really wasn't happy. Just because I think more so that she was left in the dark. But ultimately she didn't think it was a great idea, and the ad came out, and what was amazing from it is it just exploded, and the ad took off. We did a release on YouTube. The YouTube started to go into a trending apps where we got picked up a lot. We had a lot of media strategies that was in play. And then we put it on Facebook, and Facebook, we had 30 million views in about 4 or 5 days on that.
Whoa. Okay.
And after the first day, because of the cells, and I'm not going to go in really specific at the cells, just because, I signed an NDA and stuff like that. But the most important thing is that they made more money, times that by 4, than they did in previous years, just within a short amount of period of time. And it was all to do with a video that was, very well done. And it took the person through the process of really educating them so that they can actually make the decision. And yeah, we do realize that people bought it for jokes and sent it out to people, but there were a lot of people that were truly educated, and it's changed their life. And the great thing about it, I think this is probably more important to us from anything else, is we got a note from Lori Grenier just saying, hey, you know what? You guys did amazing. We have some other clients we'd love for you to work with, because what you were able to do totally proves that it just exploded. And the type of online video and what you're actually able to do, if you know what you're doing, it can make the biggest difference, especially when you're trying to educate, inform, and get people to buy.
Yeah. And so in terms of how Squatty Potty relates to crowdfunding, is that when you watch the video, the call to action is to go to the Amazon store and buy. And so there was a direct call to action to buy the product, which is where the investment into the video and the team to create this really turns into sales. So if a video is done properly, that's where you make your ROI back.
And they were able to make their ROI. And this is, like I said, a very expensive commercial. They were able to turn that around in 18 hours.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah. And with any crowdfunding campaign, the biggest investment that you should be making is in the video. And the reason for that is because when somebody lands on your Kickstarter or your Indiegogo page, they may scroll through the 1,000 words or so on your page, but the first thing they're going to do before they decide whether this is something that's worth their time is you're going to watch your 3-minute video. And if your video is done incorrectly, or it doesn't have a clear call to action, or if it doesn't speak to the viewer, they're going to stop the video, leave the page, and never return. And then your campaign flops.
Yeah, and it's going to really destroy what all the effort and time and money that you put into it. And one of the things that we got a lot of concerned video marketing specialists telling us the video was too long, and they said, "Look, it's not going to convert." However, here we had a great message. We felt like we had the elements that would take them through the process of educating them to give them the decision. And the proof's in the data. And the data said 92% of the people that watched it stayed on the whole time until that call to action. And most video marketers would say, oh, no, you need to do a 30-second spot, or you need to do a minute spot. Well, that's traditional linear TV. Forget that. We're talking online. If you can keep someone engaged, it could be a 10-hour one if you can keep them engaged. It's just a very difficult thing to do. So
yeah, it depends, because some videos can be 2 minutes and get the point across. Some are 10 minutes, but the whole point is keeping them engaged enough, and that's the sign of a good video, not how long it is.
Exactly.
So, Daryl, before you mentioned you followed a formula when you were creating Squatty Potty. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so this is a formula that you can use on anything. And so I actually, if you go to youtube.com/Daryl Eves, you're going to see that formula in the videos that I actually create. And the great thing about it is there's another formula for selling anything. And it's what I call the power pitch formula. It's something that infomercials have been doing for years and years and years, and they've done it very effectively. And if you've ever been a student of infomercials, they go through the same thing every time, and then it loops. It just loops the whole time. And it takes the people through a process of really educating them, pulling their emotions in a little bit, and then getting them to take action. But the power pitch formula is really simple. It's not difficult. It's very easy to understand. The first thing that you need to do is realize that when someone plays the video, you need to capture their attention. So that's the first thing. We always try to figure that one out last, just because it's the most important thing. Because if the bounce rate, if they go on and say, oh, this is not the video I'm looking for, or oh, this is just dumb, and jump off, we're really concerned. So we looked at with Squatty Potty, for example, we wanted to know exactly what would grab people's attention. And I think seeing a unicorn poop sherbet ice cream would really grab someone's attention. And then a prince pull up the cone and start in the dialogue would really grab someone's attention. So that first element is grabbing someone's attention, and then moving into the next important thing, which is talking about the problems that people face. And so whether it's crowdfunding, whether it's selling any product online, you need to educate individuals of why they're going to need it. So you have to discuss the problem that occurs. Okay. And you can go in depth on this. With Squatty Potty, we went way in depth before we actually talked about the solution on it, just because there was some humorous dialogue that could carry the education value across the video. And so once you discuss the problem, then you offer a solution. And that's the next area. Now you can continue to do problem solution, where you're able to do that across the video. And it really depends on the product and how engaging. I know the Squatty Potty, we went back and forth where we talked about the problem, we introduced the product, which was the solution, and we also went back and defined a couple other problems, then offered the solution once again. And then the last couple steps are probably the most important ones. If you can keep them engaged up to that point, if you captured their attention, you talked about the problem, you offer the solutions, then the next one is to kind of put icing on the cake, which is the credibility pieces. And you need to have credibility pieces. And a lot of people, this is probably the biggest mistake that most people do, that they try to make a video that will lead to a landing page that will sell the person on the product. We don't do that. We want to make a video that will educate the person that they're ready to buy when they go to the page to buy. Because if you send them to another page and they're not all converted, like they want to buy the product, they're not all in, there's a higher bounce rate that you'll see, and you'll get less conversions on it. Okay. So you got credibility piece number 1, 2, and 3. And we've tried it with 1. It just doesn't work. Tried it with 2. It doesn't work. You have to have 3 different sources of credibility. And they could be as simple as, an Amazon review. It could be as simple as, the people that actually loved it. Like for this case, we actually went through a lot of different types of people that gave positive comments about the Squatty Potty. Even Howard Stern, we called him out specifically because he talked about it quite a bit on his radio program. And so we went through a lot of credibility pieces, appealing to different demographics that was actually watching it that would resonate. Oh, okay, this is something that's real, a real product. And then the call to action is the very, very end. And one of the things that you can do, and it's something that we did specifically in Squatty Potty and other projects that we worked on, is once you get to the call to action, you can start over. You can repeat back with the problem solution and then credibility pieces, and then another call to action. And you can take that as long as you need to educate the viewer. I would just be very cautious if the video is not engaging. I would just go through it once and really get them to take some action. So,
Okay, that makes sense. I'm curious too, with the credibility pieces, a lot of new project creators may not have ever sold anything online, and they think they don't have any credibility. When you're just starting out with a new product, what are some things you could suggest that people can use if you don't have, say, Howard Stern in your back pocket?
but you can have it. It's strategically looking at who would be a good person to be our ambassador to give us a credibility piece. Let them, if this is an idea, get a hold of them, whoever that may be, and really show them the product and get some words that they can put on paper or whatever it is. That would be great. Now for Kickstarter, and I know a lot of your listeners are really into crowdfunding and stuff like that. Those credibility pieces are important. However, it's not as important as the problem and solution. And so the problem and solution, if you can really define on that, you just overemphasize on that. On the problem and solution, if your credibility pieces isn't as strong as it, or if you can't get as many credibility pieces as you can. So it's just the more that you can say, hey, this is a credible source, this is something that's a great idea, then that helps sell the product more than anything else. One of the best crowdfunding things that I've seen that really went through this process was a hammock that was under your desk that could hold your feet up. Did you ever see that one?
No, I want that though.
I'm telling you. So they went through the whole thing. They captured their attention. They talked about the problem. They did the solution. And the credibility pieces wasn't someone that was, famous or anything like that. The credibility pieces was, hey, this is a real thing that happens to programmers, gamers, so on and so forth, that they went after their audience. And they were able to do it very easy without, really getting someone of note to be the credibility piece. And then the call to action. And it just exploded. It just exploded.
That's amazing. And I find from like myself studying different crowdfunding videos is they will generally go between the problem and solution back and forth because they do need to show the product quickly, so to speak. So that's one video format, I guess, that I'm pretty in tune with.
Yeah, if you're ever a student of crowdfunding videos, like I am, everyone that really takes off, they know how to capture the attention to get you to watch the video. They clearly identify what the problem is. They offer the solution, but they bring some credibility back to it. Just give you the perfect example of the video. So there's a lot of different products that are introduced, drones and video cameras and stuff like that. I've actually purchased, and they've raised millions and millions of dollars, and it was all about showing the attention, really grabbing it, and then really talking about how unique the product is, and the problems that people face. But the credibility pieces weren't as emphasized as much as the call to action, and the calls to action is, hey, this is limited. We're not accepting everyone into it. Not everyone can buy. You can get up to this point, and then we're closing it off. And it created a frenzy, and they sold out in the first day on that. So,
wow, incredible. And one thing that's more of the creative process is, if we go back to step one, which is capturing attention. This depends on knowing the audience you're speaking to, wondering what their hopes and dreams are. I'm wondering if you have a exercise or something that you use when you start to brainstorm what a commercial or video needs to start with what that perfect capturing attention thing is.
Yeah, there's whole what you want to do is you want to look for a way to really pull them into the video. So when I was actually making a channel ad for my own YouTube channel at youtube.com/Daryl Eves, I have a channel ad. Like if you type in "who is Daryl Eves," you will see something that will grab your attention. It will either shock you or make you disgusted, but it's gonna pull you in. And the process that I go through is I'm thinking, what could I do that would be related to the content that would grab someone's attention, and what would be the process? And like I said, this is one of the last things that we actually think about before in our pre-production.
Okay.
We really want to think about this a lot, and we probably spend more time on the capturing attention than almost everything else that's a part of it. And the reason why is because if we have a high bounce rate at the beginning of the video, there's no way that they're going to be educated and entertained and have that call to action, So, and I think that's a very important thing. We'll discuss this in one quick second. Just remind me the 3 types of videos that you can make for that as well. So.
Okay. Before I do that, because I think that's a great way to end the podcast here, but the call to action. Now, why is it important to have one call to action in a video as opposed to like 5 different things?
So I think the biggest thing is you need to be very direct. You need to tell people exactly what they need to do. And over the course of my career, I have found that the more options you give people, the less likely they're going to take action. And so having one clear, defined call to action is really important. So like the call to action, we had several calls to action in the Squatty Potty, but it was the same call to action. It was very direct. If you're a human being who poops from your butt, then click here to thesquattypotty.com to get your Squatty Potty today. That's very direct, and it's amazing to see, hey, I'm ready to just check this out. Is this for real? Is this, what they want to get, they're curious about it. But the one call to action, I would say is extremely important. And one thing that I did learn working at that hospital that I was telling you is I was raising money for them, and I was working with the foundation for the hospital, and they were asking for $25,000 from people. And I says, you know what? I think you're doing it all wrong. And they're like, well, why? Why are we doing it all wrong? And I says, you're setting a cap. Your call to action should be, enlisting them to be more invested in the project. And we went to an appointment, and I says, can I take this one? And they said, sure. So I says, look, he's like, how much do you need? How much do you need for the project? I says, well, the project's at $122 million. What can you contribute? He says, $2 million good enough? But that's the point, is that the call to action is really, really important, and really taking someone through the process without limiting them from what they want to do or what they can do.
Yeah, I've never thought of it that way in terms of a cap, because you're almost setting the bar yourself, and you shouldn't. You should let the other, like the actual customer or contributor, decide that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's where you'll make a lot more money.
Yeah, no, I've never thought of it that way. So I do like that, because something that you might see at the end of a crowdfunding video is the call to action will be, oh, support us. But the problem might be that if you say, support us by buying our featured perk only for $80, as opposed to just contributing in general, because you never know that $80 purchase might have been your $10,000 wholesale package.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Smart. Okay. So what are these 3 types of video?
So this is really important, and it doesn't matter what type of content you're making. The type of individuals that are consuming video right now only look for 3 types of videos: to educate, so an education video; to entertain video; or to inspire video. Now, here's the thing. When we did Squatty Potty, we knew we weren't inspiring anybody, but we knew we could educate them and entertain them at the same time. Mm-hmm. And people, when you do that, people find value. And when they find value, they'll share. They'll share with other people. We had over 1.2 million shares of our video on Facebook in the first 20 days. That there are people that were literally sharing it with their friends, and so they found enough value to do that. So that's the three types of video. For a Kickstarter, you definitely need to inspire, you definitely need to entertain, and you definitely need to educate. And I would work on all three areas of that. The inspiration, if it's not that type of product, doesn't need to be that intense. But the more that people can feel invested in this, that they want to, they're all in to want to see you succeed, then it makes it easier because they're actually sharing, the crowdfunding project with their friends, and their friends are buying, and then they're sharing. So if you can really look at those elements to inspire, educate, and entertain, then you can definitely get a winner. And if you can only do two, then you'll have a successful video. If you can only do one, it's never going to work. You really need to have two of the elements. So either inspire and educate, or educate and entertain. That's just the way it works.
And it's subtle, but what I love about those three facets is they focus on how the consumer is going to react to the video.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you make it not based on, this is what I think will be good. It's more, how is somebody going to take this, and are they going to be entertained by it, educated? Like, is it contributing to them somehow? Because that's really how the video will get shared and purchased.
Well, for the type of videos that your listeners are going to be making, this is for crowdfunding. And so they always have to educate. That's one component that always has to be there. You just have to figure out what angle you want to go with it. Is it more inspiration, or is it more, entertaining? And you can do it in a playful way, or you can do it in a very inspiring way, and it's very powerful. And when you have those elements come together using the Power Pitch formula, you're able to see that your video will be shared, and you're going to be raising money, which you're looking to do anyway. So,
which makes it easy to justify the investment of a professionally done video. Honestly,
I've actually seen a non-professionally done video that was using those elements to outperform something that was professionally done. It's just that there is something to be said about authenticity. Mm-hmm. And credibility, and the credibility portion of the video is really getting people invested emotionally in what you're trying to do. I mean, this is crowdfunding, and that's the key. And yeah, it would have been better if it was a better video, but you know what? The content of the video was just outstanding, and so they had people behind them, and they were able to do a lot more with that.
You bring up a really good point in that. So I take back what I said earlier about it has to be professionally done, because if it's professionally done with garbage content, it's not going to convert. So a lot of project creators who may be on a budget and don't have $20,000 or more to spend on a video production team, what would you say is the most important element to focus on when you're on a budget creating?
I could tell you the most important element you should always focus in on for every video.
Okay.
It literally is your messaging. You literally need to understand the message that you're trying to communicate, and you're trying to engage the viewer. And the important thing behind that is what are they really going over? What are they concerned with? And so what I do is I have like a little litmus test that I do. And it's a really interesting thing. I try to figure out, 8 things that I would do before I make any piece of content. And that helps me really go through the process of the messaging to get the messaging absolutely just right. And so, there's just a lot of great things that you need to do, but the messaging is definitely the most important. And one thing that I found too is, and working with very talented people in the industry that really understand that messaging is where all conversions come from.
Yeah. Okay.
there was some gold that was in the video. We had an influencer, like in Squatty Potty, for example. We actually had someone that had a very big online audience in the video and had a line he was like a little elf that was doing the cranking of the conveyor belt, and it literally was distracting from the messaging.
Oh no. Okay.
And
I
so
see. Yeah.
we had to say, hey, we're not going to use this. It'll be in the behind the scenes, but we're not going to use it. And it's tough because here we had someone we paid and had them there, and we got costumes and everything, but it literally detracted from the messaging, so it never made the final cut. And the most important thing is always messaging. It's always messaging.
And we're running out of time here to go over what that litmus test is with the 8 things.
Yep.
Do you have that available online?
I don't know. I maybe somewhere. I can make it available. I think what I can do is look through my archive and maybe send you a link or something like that. We can put that up.
Sure. Yeah. And for the listeners, send me an email and I will get that off to you. It's I'll just put that in the show notes.
Make it really easy. Show notes. That's where it's at.
Show notes. I'm just making this up as I go. So I'm like, what is my call to action? So show notes, and we'll figure that out later. But yes, because I like focusing each of these interviews on something specific, and we've covered that topic.
And a little homework for your listeners, if they're really interested in converting and going through the process, what I would do is take a look at the most successful crowdfunding videos that are out there, and see if they have that formula that we talked about, that hook, really grabbing their attention, talking about the problem in a way that's unique, and really educating them through the process, offering a solution, and see if there's the credibility pieces and call to action. And you'll be amazed that the ones that are really, really good follow this formula. It might not be and this is where I want you to understand it's all about flow, because you can repeat, you can do a couple other things. If you look at Squatty Potty, when you do that as well, we use that formula, but we kind of move things around a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because what you want to do is the messaging and the flow is the most important thing, but the elements definitely need to be used.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more with this. I mean, your results speak for themselves. So
Well, thanks.
Great. So it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I knew this was going to be a good interview. Is there a place that if people want to learn more about your work or get in contact with you, where can they go?
Well, you can go to my website, DarrellEves.com, or you can just type Darrell Eves in YouTube. It's spelled DerrellEves. And you're able to see I do a lot of training. I basically got sick of answering questions from my clients, so I made a YouTube channel that was all about video marketing and YouTube how-to stuff. And really fast, I became the number one most subscribed. I have over 220,000 subscribers on that. And so you can go to those two places. And if you really want to see some fun, I just launched a brand new YouTube channel. It's called The Geekify Guys.
Okay.
And in 28 days, we got 10,000 subscribers, and we're right around 4 million views. And
wow.
And you're able to see the same thing. I'm using the same formula. There is a formula, a part of every video that we do.
Okay.
And it's the same formula. It's just really grabbing their attention, taking them through the process. And the call to action in this case would be, subscribing. And, the proof's in the pudding if we were able to get 10,000 subscribers just in 28 days. So
that's incredible. And guys, be sure to subscribe to Darrell Eves. If you watch his Who is Darrell Eves video, you're in for a pleasant surprise.
It's shock.
It's great. I love it.
It's the power pitch formula, isn't it?
It is, really.
Have my I kind of have credibility pieces in there, but yeah.
No, but he's it's good. No spoilers, but you should just go. So great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and for your time today.
I appreciate the time. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So did you love it? That wraps up episode 128, which is one of my all-time favorite episodes, not even just from this podcast, but in general, because the man is a genius with video and he has the results to support it. So, guys, again, really stoked in just a few short weeks. On May 15th, we're dropping the new brand and a brand new podcast with all new content. So to stay in the know, again, go to Khierstyn.com. There's also, that's going to be our main hub from now on, as I'm Khierstyn, so it just makes sense to have Khierstyn.com as the brand. So any new resources to get notified when the new podcast is dropping, please do go to Khierstyn.com. Apart from that, let's wrap this up and I'll see you in the next episode.